Hey team, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Lifestyle You podcast. It's your host, Lacey Iskra. I hope everyone had an amazing New Year's and holiday season. I am currently in Wainwright at my boyfriend's brother's house. So coming to you live from there, not in my regular office. I'm actually recording this before New Year's, but we are heading to Banff, Alberta for New Year's to do some snowboarding, and both my sisters are going to be there and their little kids. So super excited for that. But in true New Year's fashion, this episode is going to be about setting New Year's goals and actually sticking to them. And notice I did say New Year's goals and not New Year's resolutions, as I've found, and also studies have found, that referring to them as goals and looking at them as goals are a lot more, I guess that's not really how I want to say that, but the chances of actually sticking to them just increase a lot when you look at it as more of a goal. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm also going to share a little bit about my goal setting structure and how I set my yearly goals. And I've done a podcast, I think, every year since I've started my podcast on New Year's resolutions during this time, but I don't think it ever hurts to have the reminder. And I think it's just so important to capitalize on the momentum that comes with the new year, because it's a really good time. And yes, I do believe, obviously, you should set goals all year round. I think that that is extremely important, but there's just something that's a little bit different about the New Year's time and just being able to set goals and stick with them. And I think it's exciting. I think it's fun. And so I hope that you also get excited about it. So really just going to go and start with 10 of the tips that I have found to be helpful in order to keep your New Year's goals. So we're going to go through that. And then I'm just going to finish with my goal setting structure of how I set my goals in hope to help you set yours as well. So I think that it was crazy when I was doing research for this podcast. It was like 12% of people who make New Year's resolutions felt like they were successful in achieving their goals, which is just an insane statistic. Like only 12% of people who make resolutions actually stick to them. And so hopefully we can increase the number a little bit this year. But a lot of common mistakes that people make are also something that I'm going to kind of talk about as well, because there is definitely a right way and a wrong way to do this. So what they found also in a study that I was reading is that by March is usually when motivation starts to dip down, or you kind of lose that steam that you had maybe January 1st. So just keep that in mind when March comes around. Maybe take another look at your goals, remind yourself why you're doing them, why they're important to you, and then hopefully that can just reignite your motivation. So my first tip is choose a specific goal. And this kind of goes into just choosing SMART goals in general, which I don't know if you guys have ever heard me talk about the SMART acronym when setting a goal, but the SMART acronym stands for, so the S is for specific, which is what I'm going to talk about right now, which I do believe is the most important. And the M in SMART stands for measurable. So making sure that your goal is measurable. So you kind of want to be able to, like, you don't want to just say, I want to lose weight. You want to lose maybe 10 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever, because then you're not going to really know if you reached your goal or not, if that makes sense, if you don't have like a way to measure it. So that's super important. The ACE in SMART stands for achievable. So you want to actually be able to achieve the goal. So is it doable? And then R is realistic, which kind of goes into achievable, but is it realistic? So maybe you want to lose 200 pounds in a year. Well, to be completely honest, that's not really realistic, but 50 pounds is realistic. So just making sure that you are in alignment with what your actual goal is. And then the T in SMART stands for time sensitive. So time sensitive, meaning give yourself a time that you're going to do it. So I want to lose 10 pounds within 3 months. That would hit that time goal as well. So just keep that in mind with all your goals. If you ever set goals, they should always follow that SMART acronym, but specifically, they need to be specific, because this is just the biggest mistake people make, I think. And every year, like so many of us are quickly to say, like, I want to lose weight. I just want to be more productive. I want to get in shape. And it's just very ambiguous. And you really want to focus on something more concrete that you can realistically set your sights on. So, in other words, choose a very specific, achievable goal. So, like I kind of said in that example before, you don't want to just say you want to lose weight. You want to lose 10 pounds. And or maybe you don't want to be more productive. You want to make daily to-do lists of things you want to do. Or maybe you don't want to get in better shape, but you want to be able to run a half marathon or something like that. So just make sure you're setting them, they're realistic rather than drastic, and that they're a concrete and it's achievable goal and you go for it. So really make sure you're specific and just following that SMART acronym. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is put time into planning. And I think this is what people really avoid. They kind of just will maybe say it in a loose conversation with their friends or with their family, like, oh yeah, I want to lose weight, or oh yeah, I want to be more productive, or oh yeah, like I want to study more this year. But they don't really ever take the time to actually put into place a plan. And this is what is really important. And it's easy to get excited about it. Like, make it a little bit of a ritual. Invite some of your friends over, get yourself a goal board and put time into planning it. And I'm going to share more about how you can plan your goals when I talk about my goal setting approach at the end of this podcast. So I'm not going to go too much into it now, but it does require a detailed plan if you want to actually achieve those goals. And I think for so long, I just totally avoided this step and I just never took the time to like write it down on paper because it just felt weird or it wasn't something I would normally do. And once I started writing out my goals and looking at them every day and reminding myself of what they were is when I actually started achieving them. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is limit your resolutions. So obviously we have a lot of momentum. We're feeling good. We're seeing what all of our friends are doing for their New Year's goals around this time of year. And we all dream big, which is great. I love that. But you do want to limit the amount of your goals because a long list of potential New Year's goals is just not going to get all of the energy that you need. You're only one person, and change, like I've said 8 million times, is extremely hard. It's one of the hardest things that humans can do. We're not wired for it. So we really want to just set ourselves up for success. And it's much better to just set one goal. And maybe that goal is only going to take you 3 months to achieve. It's much better to just set that one goal in January. And then once you achieve it in March or April, to set another goal. So don't overwhelm yourself because you won't know which one to focus on. One's going to take priority over the other and it will just turn into a mess. So really make sure that you are just setting 1 or 2 very clear, measurable, specific goals, and that is automatically going to set you up for success. So the next one, which kind of goes into planning your New Year's goals, but it's avoid repeating past failures. So if you've set the goal to be more productive every single year for the past 5 years, maybe switch it up this year. Don't try to make it the exact same resolution year after year. And if people think that they can do it, they probably can. But if they've already tried and you've already failed, then you do have that self-belief that you can't do it. And so it's going to be that much harder to achieve that goal. So even if it's just simply saying it different, maybe it's not a completely different goal, but it's just a different way to even achieve that goal. So maybe if you did want to lose fat, but every year you've said you're going to lose fat and you just never do, and you might do that. Maybe this year your goal is to eat healthier, and losing fat is going to be a byproduct of that, but it's not going to be the same thing because like self-limiting beliefs, people don't even really think about them, but it's all what you think about in your mind. And if, like I said, if you think you can, you probably will. And if you think you can't, you probably won't. So try to change it up each year. That's going to make a big difference. And the next tip, I've forgotten what number I'm on now. I think that this is maybe 5, is one of my favorites. I'll never get sick of saying this, but it's to start with small steps and make it so painfully easy. because taking on too much too quickly is a common reason why so many New Year's goals fail. And any goal in general, to be completely honest, like starting an unsustainable restrictive diet or overdoing it in the gym or just radically changing any of your normal day-to-day behavior is just like a for sure way to not reach your goals. Because like I said before, change is hard. So it's much better to build momentum and just make it super, super easy. So if you've never worked out in your life and you want to get in better shape this year, make it the goal to go for a 10-minute walk every day in January. And then that's going to get easier. You're going to start to learn the behaviors that takes. You're going to learn where you can fit that in your day. And then eventually you can go for a 20-minute walk and then a 30-minute walk. And then eventually that can turn into a 30-minute gym sesh because you'll learn the habit. You'll be in that pattern. You'll have the time carved out from your normal day-to-day life, because that's a thing that people underestimate. It's like, it's not even that going to the gym is hard or overwhelming in itself, but when you're not used to that and that's not a habit and it's not in your day-to-day routine, figuring out a way where you can implement that and put that into your day-to-day routine it's like a whole nother task that you don't even think about. So it's almost being able to carve out and create the time is half the problem. So just keeping that in mind. And it's funny because I have the opposite problem. I've been working with my health coach now, and I'm actually working out less than I ever have in my life. And it's crazy because on days that I don't work out, I just have no idea what to do because I've just always gone to the gym like 5 or 6 days for the last 11 years. So I'm just like, what do people do in their spare time? Like, this isn't normal. And so it's the same, even if it's the opposite for you and you're going to the gym more because you're not used to it. So now it's like everything that you normally do on a weekday night, that whole routine has to change because now you have to fit an hour gym session in there. So that was a little bit of a tangent, but just really trust me when I say this, start with small steps, because I know we are all so wired for that instant gratification. And we all want to just go like full balls to the walls right away, but you're only going to end up burning yourself out. You'll end up missing days. You'll end up screwing up. And that's just going to mess with the momentum, where if you just go really small and you crush it every day, you're going to be super proud of yourself. You're going to build a whole bunch of momentum, and over time you will be able to slowly increase it. So if you need the reminder, just shoot me a message and I will remind that to you. But it's super, super important to start with small steps. And then tip number, whatever I'm on, is remembering that change is a process, which I've already spoke to a little bit on just how hard change is, but those unhealthy habits or just those habits that you don't necessarily want to have that you're trying to change took years to develop. So how can you expect to change them in just a matter of days or weeks or even months? So just be very kind and compassionate to yourself, be patient with yourself, plan to fail, plan to screw up, plan to miss days, because that's going to happen. I can't remember the exact statistic, but it was something like with every person that reaches a goal, they mess up it was either 7 times or 14 times. It was something insane. So it's almost like you have to plan for fails. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to reach this goal, if I fail like 14 times, whichever it was, I don't have it on me, then I know I'm going to reach it. So it's like, if have only failed and screwed up 5 times, you still know, you still got a couple more times of screwing up till you reach your goal. So just plan for that and have a plan for when you do mess up and you go off track or whatever it is. Because that's just going to set you up for success. So it may take longer than you would like to achieve your goals. So just keep that in mind, because we don't know how hard it's going to be until we actually go and try it. But remember that it's not a race to a finish. You only fail if you give up and quit. And once you have made the commitment to change a behavior, it may be something that you continue to work on for the rest of your life. So there might not always be an end date. And that's kind of what I say, especially to living a healthier lifestyle. Like if your diet has an end date, if your workout regime has an end date, then you probably have the wrong diet and workout regime, because it shouldn't have an end date. That's the best part about living a healthy lifestyle, is it's a lifestyle and it goes on for life, not to scare you. So the next tip that I have is what I mentioned at the very beginning of just renewing your motivation. So during the first days of New Year's resolution, you'll probably feel confident and highly motivated to reach your goal. It's literally just like an energy, I swear to gosh, that's in the universe during this time. And we all get super pumped up, which I love. But because you haven't really faced any discomfort or temptation associated with changing your behavior, making this change might seem all too easy, especially in the first few weeks. But after dealing with the reality of dragging yourself to the gym at 6 a.m. every morning, or saying no to going out to your friends who are drinking every weekend, or just experiencing some of the withdrawals from smoking nicotine if you chose to quit, or whatever it means, your motivation is going to go down. That's just kind of a part of it. But when you face these times, remind yourself exactly why you are doing this. And even if you keep a list handy of what your goals are and your why behind them, and that's maybe something I should have mentioned in the beginning, was finding out your why as to why you are doing the goal or why you want to make this change, because that's going to kind of keeps you going strong when motivation isn't there or is just lacking in general. So finding your why, and people can always say that it's hard to find your why, but just be really honest in yourself in that process and set out your goal. Like if it is, let's say if it is to lose 20 pounds, okay, why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Well, I want to have more energy and I want to have more confidence. Okay, well, why do you want to have more energy and more confidence? Well, I want to have more energy so I can keep up with my kids, and I want to have more confidence so that I can feel good in the bedroom with my husband. I don't even know. Okay, why do you want to do that? So just continue to ask yourself that why question until you literally get to the bottom of it. And you don't have to share these with anyone. But it is going to be very, very helpful in just bringing you back when motivation is low. All right, tip number whatever is get support or get accountability, or just even tell people, because I'm sure you've heard it a million times, but the buddy system 100% works. So if you find one of your friends or family member or anyone that is on the same path as you and maybe has the same goal with you, that would be great. Keeping contact, something obviously a part of Lifestyle You coaching is the accountability. And so just so you guys have an idea of what you could set that up with your friends, is each week we do a check-in of how the week went. So asking yourselves, what went well? Did I follow the plan? If I didn't follow the plan, why? Did I get my workouts? Did I drink my water? How was my sleep? And it's really just evaluating. And you would just make those questions to do with whatever your goal is. It doesn't always have to be about losing weight or just improving your lifestyle, whatever it is. And then throughout the week, we also check in with our clients twice. So just saying, hey, how's it going? How was your workout last night? Are you drinking your water? So if you could set up some sort of cadence like that with whoever is holding you accountable, that would be amazing. Like a weekly, more in-depth check-in, and then just checking in with each other a couple times throughout the week. That is going to be a sure way to increase your chances of sticking to those goals. And if you don't have a friend or a family member or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us. Shameless plug for coaching there, but obviously having the support and a plan from a coach will basically 10 times your chance of actually achieving that goal. So that's also an option, but support is going to be super, super important. And the last thing I want to talk about is just learning to adapt, I guess, because you're going to encounter a setback. Like I said before, failure is almost a sure thing. It's most likely definitely going to happen. So encountering a setback is one of the most common reasons why people give up on their New Year's resolutions. So you really just want to be able to have, like, if you suddenly relapse, I guess, into a bad habit, don't view it as failure. And this is such an important lesson. I've talked about this, I think, a couple podcasts ago about the fear of failure. And it's just so important if you can really start to understand why failure works for you, because so much of us are scared of us. So much of us let that dictate where we're going to go and if we're going to reach our goals or not, but really failure is a good thing. And that's why I always keep in mind that thing about how it takes 7 or 14 fails or whatever to reach a goal, because then you plan for it and you're like, awesome, I'm one fail closer to hitting my goal. Like, this is great. You almost get excited when it happens because then you know you're that much closer to hitting your goal. So just really learn how to get off track or fail or relapse or whatever, and learn to adapt and pivot and change things and then do things differently, because it really is just a learning moment and you really only fail if you quit. So just keep that in mind. And it even helps to kind of capture the moment. If you keep a journal or something, like write down important information about when the relapse occurred and what might have triggered it and what you might do differently next time, so you can learn. It's like learning to adapt, literally. So then next time when that opportunity arises or when that situation arises, you're like, okay, last time I did this and that didn't work. And when I reflected on it, I realized that this is what I probably should have done. So that's what I'm going to do this time. And you might fail again, which is great. Now you have more evidence of what doesn't work. And then the next time you can try a new approach. But the worst thing to do is just to keep doing the thing that you've always done that has led to failure. So want to try to avoid that. But those are just some tips to staying consistent with your New Year's goals and hopefully hitting them this year, if that is your goal. So now I kind of want to just bring you guys through my goal setting strategy. I did do a full in-depth podcast on it last year. So if you want to know more about it, I'm just going to kind of quickly run it through you this year. You can go back and listen to that episode. And if you just send me a message on Instagram, I can find the episode and send it to you, so you don't have to go digging through all of my episodes. But what I do is I set my goals up into yearly goals. So I set those first. What do I want to accomplish this year? What goals do I want to hit? And I write them all down. And I also kind of section them off into personal, business, and relationships. And I try to just set 3 or 4 goals for each of those sections, which I think is actually quite a lot. And I think, but because I've been doing this method for 3 years and I've been setting New Year's resolutions and goals for probably 5 or 6 years, I can almost get away with it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend more so just trying to do maybe 1 or 2 goals for each of those sections. And also too, my business is always a little bit better, but that's kind of separate because those are business goals and they're not always to do with me, if that makes sense. So regardless, I digress. So I set out all my yearly goals, business, personal, and relationships. Did I say? I can't even remember now, but yes, that's what it is. And then, so I have that in one column, and I basically get this big whiteboard and I set it into 3 columns. So the first column is my yearly goals. And then what I do is next, when I'm planning it out, is I write down quarter 1. So what am I going to accomplish in quarter 1 to get me closer to those yearly goals? And some of those yearly goals are going to take me all year to reach, whether that's a revenue goal in my business, or maybe I want to record 52 podcast episodes. So let's go with that, because that was a goal of mine last year, was to basically record a podcast every week and never miss a week. So in my yearly goal, I have record 52 podcasts. So in my quarterly goal, which is the first 3 months, because there's 4 quarters in a year, so each quarter has 3 months. In that first quarter, which would be 12 weeks, in order to reach that goal of hitting 52 episodes, I need to record 12 episodes in that first quarter. So so I kind of break it down. So it's okay, what do I have to do in order to reach this yearly goal of 52? What do I have to do in this quarter to reach that goal? Okay, I have to record 12 episodes. Then in the third column, I have monthly goals. And then I write down, so my first month would be January. So what do I have to do in January so that I can make sure I hit my quarterly goals, so I can make sure I hit my yearly goals? And so in January, I need to record 4 podcast episodes. I need to record 1 a week. So that's what I write under January, record 4 episodes. And then say let's just do this for more digestible. Say your yearly goal was to lose 52 pounds. In the first quarter, you want to lose 12 pounds. So you're going to write that down. And then in January, you want to lose 4 to 5 pounds. So that's great. And then January passes and then it's February. So you erase January, you put up February at the top, and then you dissect your goals further. So maybe you only lost 3 pounds in January for whatever reason. Maybe you ended up going on a trip, maybe you got sick, whatever it is. So now you're a little bit behind. So now you need to lose 7 pounds in February in order to hit your quarterly goal, which is going to help you hit that yearly goal. So that's great. So now you just have to turn it up a notch. Maybe you have to go to the gym a little bit more, or whatever it may be, to hit that goal of losing 7 pounds that month. Or even opposite of that, maybe your first month you lost 10 pounds because you lost a lot of water weight, you lost inflammation, you made some big changes. So now really month 2, you don't need to lose any weight, but you'd rather have some extra in the end. So instead of trying not to lose any weight, I would try to lose maybe like 3 pounds that month and just give yourself some time. But that's what you do. And then after the first quarter is up, so after the first 3 months is up, then you reevaluate and you notice, okay, am I behind on these goals? Am I ahead of these goals? What does this quarter need to look like? And then you continue to just match up your month to correspond with your quarter, to correspond with your year. And that's how I've set goals the last 3 years now, I think. And last year I set probably like 12 or 13 goals. And I think I didn't hit one. And the year before I hit all of them. And the year before that, I hit all of them. So it's basically like a fail-proof way to make sure you hit your goals. And even to take it one step further than that, hopefully you guys are following this. I should have like a whiteboard that I'm explaining this on, but even to go further than that, every week I plan out my weeks of what I'm going to do. And I will look at that board and I'll be like, okay, if I need to record 4 episodes this month, then each week I need to record 1 episode. So then I plan that out on my week and then I pick the day that I'm going to do it. And so if your goal was maybe to work out once or twice a week for the whole entire year, then okay, in the year you're going to do 352 times 2 would be like 704 workouts. So in the first quarter, you're going to do 24 workouts. And so in the first month, you're going to do 12 workouts, or no, 8 workouts, 2 a week. And so each week you're going to schedule out your 2 workouts. So you can kind of like break it down and almost reverse engineer your goals this way. And I'm telling you guys, it's literally a fail-proof way. So try it out. I do have a goal setting sheet available that we've made for our clients. And so if you are interested in that or you want that, feel free to just shoot me a message on Instagram. And I'm also thinking about doing like a goal setting masterclass kind of, where we all get together on Zoom and we can just kind of go through our goals. You guys can ask questions and we can make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success sometime in January or February. So if you would be interested in that, also shoot me a message on Instagram, because then I can arrange that and we can make that happen, because I think that would be fun. And I personally just get so excited about reaching goals. And the more that you set goals and the more that you reach them, the more you realize that it's possible and you can literally do anything that you say that you're going to do if you just like take the time to plan it out and understand how it's going to work and reverse engineer it. And it's just really cool. And that's when setting goals gets addicting, because you're like, wow, like anything that I write down on this paper is going to come true because I know I can do it. But it's having that belief in yourself, which takes time and it takes practice of setting small, tiny goals and then hitting them. And then over time, progressively getting them into bigger goals. So yeah, it just excites me, the whole process in general. So I would love to share anything and everything that I've learned with you over the last like 4 years of really taking the time to set goals. And yeah, that's it. So I'm going to wrap that up there. Please, as always, any feedback is much appreciated. And if you're not already following me on Instagram or you don't know how to reach me, you can follow me on Instagram. And my Instagram is LACEEISKK. And Happy New Year. Happy goal setting. It's exciting. So get excited. All right. Have a good day, guys. I will talk to you next week.